After watching the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, I was inspired to rewatch the animated series Star Wars Rebels. It's a 4-season series that was completed in 2018 and is currently streaming on Disney+. It takes place about 15 years after the Clone Wars, and the final 2 seasons really overlap with Andor. Star Wars Rebels takes us through the early years of the crew of the Ghost, which operate as more of a thorn in the side of the Empire, all the way through to their inclusion in the newly formed Rebel Alliance. So let's dig into Star Wars Rebels. I think this will be a lot of fun. And while you're here, I would be the happiest fan ever if you were to subscribe for more videos or even give a thumbs up on the review if you like it. Thank you so much. Beating the YouTube algorithm is always a battle in itself. So thanks for your help there. Okay, so Rebels. This series has a clear and distinct story arc told in a caper of the week format. It's a smart choice, giving us these short bite-sized stories that are easy to get into, easy to watch, and surprisingly enjoyable. The first season introduces us to the Ghost and its crew and the world of Lothal. The Ghost crew is captained by Hera Syndulla, Kanan, the Jedi, Zeb Orrelios, one of the last of the Lasats, the Mandalorian exile Sabine Wren, Ezra Bridger, who joins the crew as Kanan's Padawan, and finally Chopper, the very expressive and handy astromech droid that will endear him to you as much as you might want to throttle him at the same time. He's very, very funny, that little droid. We learn what this crew can achieve together and the challenges they face when harrying the Empire on Lothal. The second season draws in the crew of the Ghost more deeply into the conflicts on Lothal and into direct opposition with the Empire, moving their battles into rebel territory beyond the confines of the planet that they consider home. The third season pulls them into the rebellion, connecting them with the other cells and incorporating them in the wider formation of the Rebel Alliance. The fourth brings them squarely into the Rebel Alliance and pits them against the Empire in a series of decisive battles that change the course of the conflict to come. Overall, the storytelling really is superb, with the arc of each show, each season, and the series itself continually building and connecting the threads within their own series, as well as other series within the Star Wars universe. The result is a powerful 4-season series that serves as kind of a connective tissue between the dozens of characters throughout almost all of the Star Wars universe series. As a result, we see so many familiar faces, from Ahsoka Tano to Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Wedge of all people, Maul, Lando Calrissian, Princess Leia, Mon Mothma, Rex, and more. I swear you get a whole gamut of characters that you're just delighted to see in this new place, in this new space. And you're like, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that, because the story was good, the action was good, and the characters were people that you know and really enjoy seeing. Or maybe you get introduced to them for the first time and you'll see them again later. It's really, really creatively done. So you really get a sense of how the stories are all connected because of Star Wars Rebels. So if you are a Star Wars fan and you haven't had a chance to catch up on this series, you will be so happy that you did, especially if you are watching the new series Ahsoka on Disney. And just another reminder, it is an animated series, but it's not quite cartoonish. It's, I don't know the term for it, but it's a more lifelike animation that's really engaging. And I really love this kind of artistic animation that Disney incorporates into some of these new series that they're doing. The way they put these series together, including the Rebels series, you really get a great opportunity to kind of start watching Star Wars anywhere and with any series, because they are nicely self-contained stories. You don't have to start at the beginning with Clone Wars unless you want to. You can start anywhere because each of the series reaches forward and backwards with their storylines, giving you aha moments all along the way. Rebels is a really good place to start because of how well it taps into many of the other storylines. For anyone watching the series for the first time, or even as a rewatch, I would strongly suggest you pay close attention to Grand Admiral Thrawn and Governor Pryce in the final season. There are some powerful storylines that connect directly to Andor and the original Star Wars trilogy. And Pryce herself unwittingly acts as an agent for changing the entire trajectory of the war and perhaps even the downfall of the Empire. She's not even a main character, and yet she becomes the linchpin to the Star Wars story. Had she made a different decision, a completely different outcome may have been created. I love that she exists and that the Emperor never saw his own doom in this minor, mediocre Imperial official. It's sheer brilliance. Keep your eye on her. You won't be disappointed. One of the things that Star Wars Rebels does exceptionally well is the action within the stories. You get a lot of action with the Jedi using their lightsabers and other tools of the Force. You get some fantastic space battles that really kind of completely defy the laws of physics, but if you can let that go, you will love them. You get drama, a love story, family feuds, and politics. The wide breadth and depth of these stories that they tell in Rebels is really impressive. One of my favorite features of the series is their focus on art. Thanks to the talents of Sabine Wren, she is an artist who uses her talents in a variety of ways, but the most important is how her artistic choices in her work become the look and the feel of the rebellion itself, from her preferred color palette to her distinct use of shapes, styles, and textures. We see how the color and shape of the rebel symbol is born, and how the graffiti that she put on walls as a form of artistic protest begins being used by others to communicate. When I watched the first episode of Ahsoka, there is this scene when Sabine visits Ahsoka's ship and sits on her old bunk, and the wall next to her bunk has these childlike stick figure drawings that are supposed to be Sabine's. Something about this just bothered me, but I couldn't put my finger on it until I did the Rebels rewatch. And I realized that the art that was on her bunk wall was just all wrong for Sabine, because by the time she joins Ahsoka, she is a talented and accomplished artist with a deep sense of style and color. She wouldn't have drawn these lame looking stick figures on her bunk wall. That's what I would have done, right? That's about my level of talent. And that was just a failure on the part of the designers in Ahsoka. I mean, it was as if the person in charge of that artistic choice wasn't familiar with Rebels or Sabine's character at all. However, the fact that they chose to show that Ahsoka left her artwork, Sabine's artwork, on the wall is a really nice nod to how important Sabine is to her and to the story itself. One last note about the artistic styling of Rebels. In this series, more than any other, except perhaps Ahsoka, the Jedi artwork is very forward-facing with its sweeping geometric lines and the use of circles and the incorporation of a style that kind of exudes the combination of astro motifs with astronomy. There is a clear comparison to how the Jedi and the Sith represent their connection to the Force in the art that they use in their temples. The Jedi temples use this sweeping elegance of circles and waves and lines as an artistic language that contains the mysteries of the Jedi Order. Meanwhile, the Sith temple, they basically have no art, except for these really hard geometric lines of like triangles and squares. It's a very striking difference. Speaking of the Force, we also get to see several other Force sensitive beings who show up in Rebels. And it's really nice to see that it isn't just Jedi and Sith that can use the Force. There are a variety of Force users who kind of balance all along the spectrum of light and dark. The Jedi Order isn't the only way. And I think that's one of the stories that some of these series are really kind of nailing, is that there's more than just the Jedi and the Sith in the Star Wars universe. There's more than just right and wrong. There's shades of gray. There's degrees of right and degrees of wrong, not these two absolute figures. And, you know, I love that the Jedi aren't the only good guys who are using the Force. I think this is really the most important lesson that we get from Star Wars Rebels. They really drill into that. All right, everyone, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you go watch Star Wars Rebels if you haven't watched it already. And if you have watched it, definitely drop a note here and let me know what you think about the series. This is one of my favorite series, and I would love to chat with you about it. So while you're here, also don't forget to hit subscribe and like the video. And have a great day, everybody. And may the Force be with you. Bye.